York needs new leadership.
Andrew Cuomo, you should quit.
New York needs new leadership.
Andrew Cuomo, you should quit.
New York needs new leadership. House the poor, tax the rich. House the poor, tax the rich. House the poor. And if we don't get it, shut it down. And if we don't get it, shut it down. And if we don't get it, shut it down. He wants to lie and politic in our names and not serve us.
I'm the mother of a man that has been in solitary confinement for 27 years.
That ain't right.
Okay? He is now on a website that his sister created, a pod site called Without Conviction. There is case after case of men being convicted of crimes that they are not guilty of. We have a correction department that is being fed by Governor Cuomo. That's one of the reasons why this continues. The whole solitary bill has not been passed for 8 years.
Every time, right now, the state of New York is facing a deficit. And Cuomo's response is to cut social services, to cut things that basic services for people that can, lift people out of poverty, help people with health insurance. He's cut Medicaid, including, a lot of hospital beds had to be cut before the COVID crisis. Who knows, maybe those wouldn't be useful during the pandemic. And he cuts taxes for the rich. He's made New York State the most unequal state in the union. That's a fact.
These bills will provide services to the homeless as well for the overdose crisis that we have for the MAT in the prison system, just overall to service the people because our budget is low. And if you tax that money from the rich, we can provide the services that we need for New York State. That's right. We need Governor Cuomo to tax, to do the right thing for New York State. Thank you.
No charges will be placed against you.
We want
Governor
Cuomo
to
tax
the rich.
We want Governor Cuomo to tax the rich. We want the people demand that everyone pay their
sidewalk.
If
you do so voluntarily, no charges will be placed against you. If you remain in the roadway and refuse to utilize the sidewalk, you will be placed under arrest and charged with disorderly conduct.
to have firemen, to have street lights, to have schools.
I mean, it makes sense that in this moment the media is focused on sexual harassment complaints of women. So we understand that. What we need is to ensure that they also pay attention to nursing home deaths and, frankly, a long history of abuse this governor has made. So we would agree with the media. They should focus on the harms the governor commits on people as individuals. We also need to focus on the harms he commits to entire communities.
If you do so voluntarily, no charges will be placed against you. If you remain in the roadway and refuse to utilize the sidewalk, you will be placed under arrest and charged with disorderly conduct.
Come on, folks, on the sidewalk. Okay, you've been warned. Yeah, I heard you.
Since you have refused to leave the roadway, you will be placed under arrest on the charge of disorderly conduct. If you do not cooperate and accompany the arresting officer to the prisoner transport vehicle, or...
All right, so I just got threatened with arrest. Excuse me?
Local, we got you.
Since you have refused to leave the roadway, you will be placed under arrest on the charge of disorderly conduct. If you do not cooperate and accompany the arresting officer to the prisoner transport vehicle, or if you resist arrest, you may be charged with additional crimes. Since you have refused to leave the roadway, you will be placed under arrest on the charge of disorderly conduct. If you do not cooperate and accompany the arresting officer to the prisoner transport vehicle, or if you resist arrest, you may be charged with additional crimes.
I'm not in danger. Please just let me do my job. Please.
You can do it from the sidewalk.
I can't see
Go
from
on
the
the
sidewalk.
sidewalk. Thank you.
Please, guys, let me do my job. I understand you're trying to do your job.
Defund! Invest! 90,000 homeless in this city. You see them? They're sitting on the streets. There's no place to go. They're getting arrested because... Cuomo, Carl Heasting, you're next.
Go ahead.
Andrew Stewart-Cousins is calling for Cuomo to resign. That's why these people are getting arrested. They're getting arrested because they're righteous people.
I didn't get to count how many arrests there were. If anything, I would say possibly 10.
Pandemic billionaires got $87 billion richer in a pandemic. What? New York State deserves better than this. We're better than this. You look at them with disdain, but there's no way that people are going to make that happen.
Ma'am, just get on the sidewalk, please. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Cuomo, you gotta go. It's a disgrace. New York State deserves better than this.
There's been problems before with the budget before, and the budget is a moral document, and it's just being exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. So we need to invest in health care for New Yorkers. I mean, locally, I prefer at a national level, but housing for homelessness, because we're about to have a potential homelessness crisis if New Yorkers don't take a stand. And Cuomo could do it, but now we need the Assembly and the Senate. And if you want more information, look into Vocal New York.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Don, you want to say something?
Yeah.
Hey. If you want, speak to me about the attacks on the working class and poor New Yorkers.
Well, here's the thing. For over 32 years, the New York State legislature, the Senate to be exact, were in control. And the Democrats weed, hewed, and hawed and cried about getting power and all the promises that they were going to make when they get power. They now have that power, and since they've been in power and they control both houses, the Assembly and the Senate in the state of New York, they have done nothing. Okay, people are homeless, people are starving, while they enrich themselves, profiteering. The governor himself is running a business with prison labor to sell his product and fill his bank account and coffers. People are starving out in the street, and it shouldn't be that way. This pandemic has brought about a disgusting margin profiteer for those that are in power, and they're letting the little people, us, that pay the bulk of the taxes, suffer. People are homeless, and in New York City right now, you got whole blocks that are empty apartments. People fled during COVID-19. These homeless people could be housed there. The government can take up and pay that bill to house these people there. They rather for them to be in the street, they rather to put them in prison so they could engage them in prison slave labor, and to continue this imperialistic, capitalistic profit margin, which is what it is, okay? And the governor is a part of it. The governor is the chief executive officer of this state. He is the governor, and he's a criminal right now. Numerous sex allegations against him. This is going on for times. And has a record, and it's been proven by other media news outlets, that he doctored the book intentionally on nursing home deaths. They fudged the books. That's been proven. He should be prosecuted.
Well, I think it's important for people to understand that there's a very decent plan to end and address this homelessness, the overdose crisis, incarceration. And in a pandemic, when most of us are out here messed up, New York State's billionaires got about $87 billion richer in a pandemic. So there's a decent plan. It's 6 bills to tax billionaires on things like transactional financial transactions that they don't pay anything for. Like you and I go to the store and we pay taxes on things that there's none of that. The inheritance tax, capital gains tax, a very decent plan. And Governor Cuomo needs to do that. He needs to pass that. So that's why we're here. And we have nothing. So we're going to be here And we're going to be here until we get that done.
You know, I think a lot of Americans are just finding out how corrupt Cuomo really is, and you know, things keep popping up, you know, in the media and coming out about him. Can you tell me a little bit? You know, we know he caters to his donors and the wealthy in New York. Can you tell me a little bit about the attacks on the working class and you know, other New Yorkers?
Well, I think what you said about Cuomo is true. I think there has been this well-known idea about him for many years. He's a bully. He obviously doesn't treat his people well. So now we see that he does that, and he's not treated the people of New York State well. You know, there was an explosion of overdose deaths last year in this pandemic. Done nothing to address that. There's clemencies on his desk that he needs to sign for incarcerated people. There's homelessness in this city and this state that has just exploded. You see them everywhere. So what are we going to do about that? How are we going to do that? And it's not just working class people, it's everybody that's affected by that, particularly homeless people and poor people. And Cuomo is a politician. And just because he's a Democratic politician doesn't help us. So we really want to make sure that we get that message out and that we're not going to go away, we're going to be here.